Autistic burnout. Do you have it or not? Well, guess what? There's a chance that you could be burnt out and not be aware of it. Apparently is one of the symptoms. As someone who's been suffering from it from a good couple of years and try to hide it. I try to hide it in these videos. I try to edit out the stupid mistakes or where I just can't think of simple words. But that's another symptom, is where you're starting to find difficult to put sentences together. You can't find words. In fact, in my case, I often can think of words in Finnish, but not in English, and I'm not fluent at Finnish. Devon Price wrote a really interesting article about this, where he talks about the fact that you may not recover fully from autistic burnout. To paraphrase what he said in the article, is that there might be certain abilities that you had before that you may not get back. Your memory may not improve. That's another symptom of it. Your memory might be suffering severely. And as with a lot of disabilities, one of the ways out of it is pacing yourself. And it's hard to do if you're not aware of when you're overdoing it and when you're not overdoing it, which is where spoon theory comes along. I'll credit the person on the screen now, but it was created, I believe, by a lady who was suffering from lupus, and to try to, I think, to explain what it's like to not have the same amount of energy as everyone else. If you haven't heard of it, it's simply put that we get like 12 spoons per day, and you use each spoon on a given task. It might be that getting out of bed takes you a spoon, or making yourself breakfast, or doing dishes, something like that. Everything costs a spoon or more than a spoon. Now here's the catch, right? People who don't have a disability or not suffering from any kind of burnout don't have a limit on the spoons. And this might explain why people don't understand, that they can't see that. They can't see our spoons. They can't see that we don't have energy, or that we can't think. They might notice occasionally we struggle to put a sentence together, but other than that, it's an invisible illness for most part, as far as other people are concerned. And it's handy to know this. How many do you have every day? And it's also worth noting, this is if you don't pace yourself, if you're not aware of how many spoons you have each day, you might spend tomorrow's spoons in advance. Because this is the really problematic thing about it. I find, at least anyway, and I've heard other autistic people say the same thing, is that you don't realise, it's not just autistic people, people suffering from illnesses that are invisible. They might have an autoimmune disease, MS, things like that, and they suffer from fatigue, and they think, oh, great, I feel better today. And then tomorrow, all of a sudden, they're wiped out, or the whole week, actually, we can be wiped out. And that's what's going on there, is you're spending the spoons, you've gone over your 12, and then you're now spending tomorrow's spoons. And it doesn't feel like that's what we're doing, but we are. And you'll know that you've overdone it when you wake up in the morning and you have 0 spoons. There are plenty of days that I wake up, no spoons. I have nothing. I can't do anything. I'm just completely wiped out. And when that happens to me, it's usually for a week. Now, I've been trying to monitor this. I'm using the app called Guava, monitoring my symptoms. I'm carefully monitoring any exercise that I do, because I love doing exercise, but I'm just not able to do as much as I want. And there's this overdoing it, crash, overdoing it, crash. And that's what I think has been happening to me. And so now I'm trying to, because this is the advice of anyone suffering from hypermobility spectrum disorder, which I have, as well as people who have fibromyalgia, which I'm pretty sure I have that as well. On top of all of this, the advice is all the same, is pace yourself. And so you don't measure how much energy you're going to expend on one day based on how you feel. It might take you some time, but you will need to, and as I'm figuring it out right now, how many spoons do I have per day? And how many spoons does each task take? And here's the other thing too, I've had to cut off a certain time of day and say, okay, 6 p.m. and I'm going to stop doing things that are mentally draining or that they take mental energy to do. because that's the thing, it's not just physical stuff. For me, I find doing any cognitive task is actually, like, it feels to me the next day, if I overdo that, it's as like I've run a marathon when I haven't at all. And also I should point out that autistic people, we're more likely to suffer from this extreme kind of burnout because we get so bogged down and focused on doing things just in life in general that we don't notice the burnout happening. As I said at the start, one of the symptoms is not being aware that you're suffering from the burnout, weirdly enough. And we do live in this world where people expect us to push, go 100% all the time. But this is the other problem I have with this, is that's not really, people aren't really pushing 100%. They say that, but they're actually not. They just look like that they are. Neurotypical people will say, give 100% all the time. Nobody can, but we do. We often do. We will really, really be pushing hard, burning the candle at both ends, not getting enough sleep, staying up late, doing things for work when we shouldn't be doing that, just pushing ourselves way too hard. And as I said, to be fair, look at neurotypical. They're not doing the same thing. They're not pushing as hard as we do. You combine that pushing really, really hard with not being aware that you're actually getting burnt out, and this is the result. So like I said, this is our only way out. Count your spoons. Know how many you have each day when you start the day, if you can possibly figure that out. That's the other problem I find, is I don't know how many spoons. Some days I'll only have 5 or 6 spoons, and I don't know that when I start the day. And so that might be because I've spent them yesterday and not been aware that I spent them yesterday. So if this helps you, if you're going through burnout, drop in a line down in the comments below if you've got any questions, because I'm not an expert on it, but I've been suffering from it for a good couple of years. If you're just realising it now, or if you've also been suffering from years, or you just want to talk about the spoons, join the conversation below. Have a good day.